What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to Backyard Barbecuing. Today I'm going to show you how to make the perfect steak every time. Now if you're new to the channel, consider subscribing and help my channel grow. With so many different types of steaks out there, you have your ribeyes, your sirloins, your T-bones, your New York strips. This method that I'm going to show you guys today works for all of them. One of the more important things to do that I know everyone really forgets is to salt your steak at least, and I mean at the bare minimum, an hour before you cook it. It'd be beneficial to do it overnight because what's gonna happen is that salt is gonna draw out moisture. Now I know that sounds like a negative when cooking steaks because you want all the moisture in it. So it's gonna draw out moisture and then it's gonna reabsorb with the super salty liquid back into it. So you can use pretty much any type of salt you want. I like using some kosher salt. More accurately, this is coarse ground kosher salt, but you can use table salt or whatever salt you like to use. So we're just going to cover this steak in. It's not gonna absorb too well into the fat, but you'd absolutely wanna get it onto the meat. So we're just going to do both sides. Then we're going to get the edges by picking up the salt from the table. All right, and just like that. So I'm gonna let this steak go into the fridge for a couple of hours, and then we're gonna pull it out and I'll show you the difference. All right, so it's been a little over 3 hours since I put this steak in the fridge. A lot of the salt is dissolved. You can see that it's got a little tacky on some of it. A little bit is still a little bit of fluid or liquid left onto the on the steak. Also, sorry if you hear the dogs in the background. They're panting like crazy, protecting me from the UPS driver, but that's what I pay them for. So anyways, we're gonna go ahead and get this thing ready on and to throw on the grill. One thing that I did want to add that I probably forgot was when I put it in the fridge to let the salt dissolve, I put it uncovered and on this wire rack. All right, with that said, we're gonna go ahead and get this thing ready for the grill. All right, to get our steak ready for the grill, and I'm gonna add some garlic powder. Now I used to be again a diehard just salt and pepper type person, but I've since recently switched over to the dark side. Add a little bit of garlic powder to it. Extremely enhances the flavor. I'm fighting some wind here. I'm fighting sound for fire truck or ambulance, whatever's driving by. We're gonna go ahead and add some coarse ground pepper. Now the coarse ground pepper part is a lot of people like to add it before, some people like to add it after. I like to add it before. It gives a little bit of a crunch when you throw it on that direct heat. And then we'll remove the wire rack, set that to the side, and we'll get the edges. And there you have it. Ready to go for the grill. All right, so now that our coals are nice and hot, what we're gonna do is called the reverse sear method. We're just trying to cook the perfect steak. There's a bunch of cooking methods that you can, that's online that you can look at, but we're gonna do it this way. We're gonna set our steak in direct heat. So we got our heat source over here. Position our lid to come this way. All right, so we're gonna do bone facing the heat source. So about right there is perfect. We're gonna set the lid, vents coming this way so heat travels and comes out over the steak. All right, so I've been sitting with my steak the whole time since I put it on. I'm not a fan of the whole, oh, you only need to flip it once type of thing. You spend a lot of money for your steak, especially if you're a new timer just barely getting into grilling. Baby this thing, pay attention to it. It's hot, so let me put on a glove. All right, I'm back with my glove. Again, you spent your hard-earned money on this thing. Baby it, pay attention to it. I haven't left the barbecue side since I put it on. So we're gonna flip it. Again, we're just trying to raise the temperature, the internal temperature of the steak enough to where we're gonna throw it on direct fire to get that nice crust on the outside. All right, so here we are babying this thing. I'm gonna flip it one more time. And you guys have seen me use a bunch of thermometer pins. There's a bunch of ways to check to see if your steak's done. I'm not gonna get into the scientifics of it, of feeling on your hand and feeling what it feels like. Like I said, you spent too much money on your steak for it to be overcooked or undercooked. So what I recommend is getting yourself a little thermometer pin. I know you guys seen me on my channel use a different type of thermometer pin. Specifically, it's really just a black one. I think I went with almost the same company, but it's important to, because I've had that pin, that thermometer pin for a while now, that get a new one every so often. They start to lose a little bit of calibration. So what you're gonna do now with your brand new thermometer pin, I'll put a link in the description to show you which one I like to use. This one's from Alpha Grillers, and it's been working pretty good. And as you can see, we're not even close. I just wanted to show you, but this is a low and slow offset setting just for right now. The outer areas is going to be a little bit hotter. You don't got to worry about that too much. You want to make sure that the inner area, and also closer to the bone, if you're cooking the steak with a bone, is up to temperature. And something else that I did forget to mention before cooking your steak, and I did this before cooking, I took the steak out of the fridge and I let it get to room temperature before cooking it. Beef, you're 100% safe on doing that. Let it get to room temperature before cooking it, because what happens if you cook a cold piece of meat is the outside cooks really well, but the inside is still cold, and hence the idea of getting a thermometer pin. But this thing's still going, so we're gonna allow it for just a little while, and we're gonna keep babying it. All right, because the bone was a little bit closer to the fire, it's probably giving me the higher reading. So this is exactly where we want to be at when we throw it on direct fire. So by taking the lid off, we're letting some oxygen into our heat source. Now it's time for the fun. We're gonna throw it directly on the fire to sear the outside. So I've got it, here we go. Let's throw it directly on the fire. And just keep flipping it. I mean, but just look how good that looks. Let's get some focus. Throw that back on. And I'm just gonna keep flipping it. You're gonna get a nice caramel crust on it. Sorry about the camera, didn't focus. Flip it again. Nice fire. Let's check temp. These little instant read pens. So we're temping at about 110, 112 degrees. We're gonna still let it go. Let's flip that over. And what's gonna happen is once we got that crust on it, I'm not saying that the reverse sears, the final touches, if you're still not at temperature, pull it off and do another offset. Do it offset until you get to the temperature that you like. So we're gonna pull it offset because it's on fire. We'll pull it offset, check the temp. Right in the middle. All right, so we're temping at about 121 degrees. I'd like my steak to get to about 125-ish before I fully pull it off and get it ready for the cutting board. All right, so we've hit about 130 degrees internal temperature. We're gonna take it off the grill, and now it's extremely important to let this thing rest. We're gonna let it rest uncovered on our countertop for about 15 minutes, and it's gonna reabsorb all that juice, and it's gonna be a perfect cut. All right, I'll see you in about 15 minutes. All right, so it's been about 15 minutes since we let this thing rest. We've got a little bit of liquid on the table, but that's better than on the plate. So let's go ahead and cut this thing off, and don't make fun of my purple knife. I didn't feel like washing another one. We're gonna cut this thing right off the bone, and just look at that thing. It looks perfectly cooked. Set that to the side. Take off this cap. We'll cut right into it. I can smell the garlic on it. It's delicious. Let's pick one right out of the middle. Perfect medium. Let's take a bite. That's so good. It's got a nice flavor of saltiness throughout the whole meat. I taste the garlic in it. I mean, just look at the other piece. That's perfect. I don't care if you like it well done, medium rare, rare. That just looks perfect. That's the way you got to do these steaks. So that's the perfect way to grill every steak. And until next time, you guys, peace.